In this video, I will show you exactly step by step how you can make a living as an artist, right? That's exactly what I did. Sold over 200,000 worth of my art, quit my job in 2020, and have been self-employed since then, selling my art. The possibilities are very big, but most artists, because I'm talking to a lot of artists, right? So one of my other passions is helping artists because I got so many artists asking me, how do you do it? On one point, I had resistance for a very, very long time. I didn't want to help anyone. I wanted to just focus on my art. But on one point, I'm like, there are so many people asking me, like, there's just a missed opportunity because it's like the universe is telling me, help artists, right? There were not so many people that actually wanted to do that. And I enjoy helping others. Coaching is a passion from me too. Anyways, let's get into the video. And in the end of the video, you will know if you have what it takes to make a living from your art, and also a step-by-step plan, right? A roadmap of what it takes. Okay, so let's get into it. So as I already mentioned, I quit my job in 2020 and I just painted or started painting in 2017. So 3 years later, I was able to fully support myself from my art. And I was making a pretty good living. I was living in Switzerland, went to 5-star hotels, spent a little bit too much money, which is something I regret because I should have saved some money. But I was new. There was the first business that I kind of started and it worked. I started other businesses in the past, but they never worked. But selling art worked super well for me, but it wasn't luck. I can tell you that it was definitely not luck because in 2017, I also sold my first piece and that happened very randomly. I made some videos about it. If you believe in the law of attraction, for some reason, my mom kind of brought this man home that she met on a bus station and they started talking about art and he said like, oh, he would love to buy some art. And my mom is also painting. So he came home, bought some art from her, and I came home after work. Back then I still had a part-time job. And he wanted to buy one of my artworks that I painted when I was 16. And that was the start for me. That's when I was like, you know, there's some potential. I need to maybe pursue this thing. Because I always dreamed of a life of freedom. I wanted to make enough money, be free, do what I love. These were the things that were important to me. I couldn't just create any business that makes me money. And let me tell you one thing up front. There are easier businesses to start than selling art, right? You have to be aware of that. But for me, it wasn't about that. For me, it was about doing something that I love. Because in my experience, if I started things that had a bigger financial opportunity, but I really hated it, it didn't lead anywhere. I didn't make as much money as I did with my art. With my art, I made the most amount of money because I loved it the most. Right? But I still had to grow into a person that can actually make money from their art, right? So as I said, the first piece was kind of randomly, and after that I thought now it's going to be really easy to sell art, but I struggled for 3 years, right? So people didn't even want to buy my art for like 200, 250 or 300 Swiss francs. And that was very soul crushing. That was very hard, but I didn't give up. I was learning and growing. And at one point I bought the book from Maria Brophy, Money, Art, Success. This book changed my life. And today she's my business partner. If you don't know her, check her out. We have a community together where we're helping artists to make a living from their art. So if you want to do this, check the link in the description. But yeah, she changed my life. She literally showed me what's possible. And then while I was reading the book, I was also working for a personal growth company. And these guys, they started making more and more money. And I saw how they were selling packages, coaching packages for like 30,000. I mean, from 5,000 to 50,000. That's basically the range they were in. And people, even some, very rare, but some people spent 50K. And I'm like, it blew my mind. I'm like, that's insane. And I put my own limitations around money on other people. So I always thought people don't have money for that. And the people that buy art, there are collectors, right? They are buying art. There are like some rich people that are impossible to find, at least for me. That's what I believe, right? But when I saw them selling so much from their coaching or of their coaching, and people spent so much money and they were all normal, or they seemed like normal people in Switzerland, right? And that opened my eyes to what's possible. So I started believing more and more that I can do it too. And here's already the first lesson. Before you do anything, you have to believe that it's actually possible. Right? So I'm happy you found this channel, and I hope that I inspire you to believe that it's possible, because literally that's the first step. If you don't believe it's possible, don't even start. Don't even bother, because I can tell you it's not going to be easy. But why would you go through all the challenges and the effort and the time and whatever it takes if it's not even possible in your mind? Why would you waste all of this time? Right? So that's the first step. Okay. And so once I believed that it is actually possible, or I started believing in the possibility, That's when things started changing. That's when I started taking real action towards selling my art. And I love mindset. I'm a big believer. And it's a foundation. But what I start to notice, some artists, they get stuck in the mindset part, right? They think it's all about the mindset. The mindset might be already pretty good, but since they don't have a strategy and a system in place on how to actually sell art, they keep going back to their mindset. They keep thinking like, oh, it's something I'm with my thinking. But it's not really with their thinking. They just didn't figure out the system that works for them. And here I also want to be upfront and honest. There are lots of ways. There are 1,000 ways to Rome, right? But you need to find out what's the best way for you. But here's the key word. You have to pick. You have to pick a strategy. You have to pick a system. You have to pick a way. If you keep going left and right and up and down and, throw things at the wall hoping that something sticks, you're not going to make any progress. And I can guarantee that, right? So you do need to decide. Indecisiveness is a trait of unsuccessful people. It's just how it is, right? I trained to become very decisive. I'm extremely decisive because I now know why successful people are decisive. I heard this many, many years ago, but now I really know why, right? You don't move forward with things if you're not decisive. If you take weeks to decide what path, or even months, right? Some artists think about their prices for months and months and months. You're not going to make it. You have to be decisive and take massive action. So pick a path, right? And I can just share with you what my path was and what worked for me. And since I have a mastermind of over 70 artists with my business partner, Maria Broffi, I know now a little bit like what artists struggle with. And one thing is not being able to decide. And then I also noticed that most artists, they think about things that don't really matter right now, right? Trivial things. And they don't think about the needle movers. And I became really, really good in determining like what needs to happen in order for you to achieve your goal. So if you want to make a living as an artist and you want to quit your job, your priority is money. That's just it. There's no way to fluff this. If you want to make a living as an artist, you need to focus on the money. So everything that's not making you money directly is not a priority. And so let's talk about what is making money directly as an artist. As I said, multiple ways, right? Let's talk about my way. I sold originals because originals were the closest to money. I could sell a painting for 5,000 and I already made enough to live, right? If I sell 2 paintings, I make a really good living. And I had a month where I made 30K, 30,000 in a single month. And let me tell you, I didn't do this through selling prints or licensing. I did that through selling my originals. And again, Maria Broffi, she's selling tons of prints. And that's amazing. And I want to learn from her how to do that. Right? I was just focusing on the originals, but I also know that Maria Broffi, she built that over time. So it depends where you're starting at, right? If you have a following of 100K followers or 50K followers on Instagram, you probably can get started selling prints already right now, right? If you have a big email list, you can start selling prints right now. If you have no audience, you never sold anything, you just have some artworks that you created, even if it's like 3, 4, 5 pieces, my guess would be that it's probably the fastest way to get to money through selling your originals. And no, I don't mean selling your originals for a few $100. That will again take a long time. Because if you sell a painting for 500, you need to sell 10 paintings. 10 paintings, 10 people that you need to talk. No, way more, right? 10 people that actually buy. So you need to talk to way more people if you want to sell 10 paintings at 500. And sometimes we believe that the cheaper the price, the easier it is to sell. But that's not my experience. I promise you that. Right? The people that actually can spend more are way better clients. I mean, for me, they were so easygoing. I had never problems with them. With some, I didn't send the painting for months because I was traveling and I told them and they were always okay. They were like, no problem. But then I had people where I made some special offers. I had once a studio sale, I think in 2022 or 2023, and one woman bought a painting, I think 4,000, which is for a lot of you guys still a lot, but my original prices would be 5,000, 6,000 or even more, and she was so freaking complicated, right? So I really noticed that the people that spend little money, they don't have that much money, and they're also going to be more a pain in the ass in a way, right? But the people that spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000, they were the best clients ever. And this is my experience. And I know a lot of people are saying that. This is my path. I chose that. I wanted to sell my artworks for like 50K, 100K, 500K. That was kind of my dream. And so I didn't want to be the cheap artist. I didn't want to sell tons of prints. I just wanted to sell my originals for more and more. My record is 24,000 USD for a single painting. But I haven't surpassed that. And at one point I will. But that's what I wanted. That's the path I chose. But I needed to choose. That's important. So you have to choose for yourself. And you have to choose like what is really important to you. If it's more about like doing something you love and finding the right way and taking time, and I don't know what you maybe what's important to you, then you need to realize, okay, then maybe you're not going to make money that fast. The artists that make money the fastest are the ones that really, really want to make money. And I really wanted to make money because I had the reason to quit my job. I wanted that so badly. And my boss back then was a really hard time, right? My boss called me at lunch, and when I didn't pick up while I was eating, she, was really tough for me later on. And I started getting anxious. I had anxiety because I was afraid, like I felt overwhelmed, overworked, even maybe a little bit burned out. And whenever I didn't pick up the phone and set some boundaries, she was then being very tough for me. And I just couldn't make it anymore. I wanted to quit this job so badly. So I had a strong reason. And I have to say here, I didn't just quit my job out of nothing. I saved money. So I made a plan. I made a game plan because I was serious. I'm like, okay, now I'm still working in this job. Right now, I don't feel confident enough to quit my job. And I needed to become brutally honest with myself because, I wanted to quit my job so badly. But whenever I imagined quitting my job, I was afraid that I land on the street and I'm not going to make it and it's going to be so hard. And I just couldn't get this fear away. So I needed to make a game plan. So how can I calm down? How can I become more confident that I can actually make it? And then I was like, okay, if I save 20K or 10K or whatever it is, then I'm going to be more confident that I can actually quit my job. So I started doing that first. And when I started saving money, I started seeing the money growing. And then I got excited to make more money. So I started selling my art. And that's how it started. Before I didn't have even the motivation to sell my art because it was really, really hard in the past. And I kind of gave up, right? I was still painting for fun. And I think that's exactly the space most artists are in. They paint because that's what you love, but you don't actually actively sell. So when I started saving money, I started getting excited about selling art. So I did, right? So I made 15,000 from my art in 2019 within like 6 months, which is not enough to live from, but it was a great start. And that led me to save up 20K saved up. And I've never saved money in my life. I earn so little, and I come from such a poor money background. I mean, my father made money, but he wasn't often here. So I didn't learn really anything from him. I just always, like in our family, everybody said he has money because he has a big company, but that's why he is never at home and is sleep. Like when he came home to visit us, most of the time he went to the couch and fell asleep, right? So that's kind of the relationship I had with my father. But yeah, he had money, he had a company, but just nobody knew exactly what he's doing and how he's doing it. He didn't share much, which is very sad because I think I would be in a different place today if I would have learned from him more. And my grandmother always said that he's probably dealing with drugs because you cannot make so much money with the company he had. So there were lots of limiting beliefs around money in my family. And my mom never worked. She's living on the minimum from the government. She gets paid by the government, right, since years, and she never really worked. So work and money, very bad in my mind, right? I struggled with this for many, many years. So saving up 20K was huge for me, right? And it boosted my confidence, right? Sometimes, it's mindset work, but we also need to back it up with practical things. It's not just all about the mind. And I am a big believer in the law of attraction. I have a manifestation channel, but I'm also very practical. But there are lots of people that are into law of attraction, manifestation, mindset, and they are not practical. They think it's all just in the mind. It's how it starts, but then you still have to back it up with your action. You have to actually build something, bring it into reality with your hands through taking action and building something, right? So I built my account up to 20K, which made a huge difference for my confidence. And because I started seeing more money, I started believing that I deserve more money. I visualized money raining down, and I started selling more. And because I had the money, I was able to invest in a coach. And after I signed up with the coach in 2020, the first 45 days working with him, I sold 26,000 worth of my art. Can you imagine that? I cannot even describe how I felt. It probably was the best day of my life. And I don't say these are typical results, right? They are not. I think you can achieve something like this if you have a burning desire. And believe me, there are artists making even more money than me. Like I know one artist that, I was in a community and they said he's making like 60, 70K in a month, or he made 60, 70K in a month. And I'm like, whoa, I cannot even imagine that. But that's the problem, right? If you say, I cannot even imagine that, even for me, the 26,000, if this is so far out of what you believe, you're not going to achieve it. but that's okay. You work your way up there. You start where you're at. So why do I tell you all of this? I'm telling you this because you have to plan for where you're at. If you're currently in debt, you need to start with that. You have to make a plan to slowly get out of that. Or depending on who you are and your personality, if you like to take high risks, then go and do whatever you want to do. But I'm saying most people probably, they need to have a bit of a slower process depending on where you're at. If you have savings already, 10, 20K, but you don't feel comfortable with that or safe enough to quit your job, then make a plan. When would you feel safe enough and comfortable enough to quit your job? Some of you want to just quit it and jump off the cliff, and that's maybe your path. But I'm saying you have to start where you're at, be brutally honest with yourself and make a game plan like I did. And if you can, get a coach. And as I said, I have a community and I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm doing this community because I wished someone would have coached me that actually is an artist. Maria is selling millions in art. She's not the artist. Her husband is the artist, but she's directly tied into the whole art business. She's actually selling it. I am an artist, sold over 200,000 worth of my art. I wish I would have found someone like this. My first coach, he was just a generic business coach. He still helped me and I learned a ton from him, but it still would have been amazing if I actually learned from someone that did what I wanted to do. I truly believe in what we are doing. And it's $79 per month right now. It can probably, I don't know, when you watch this video 2 months later, it might be already more. So if you are ready to take massive action, you really want to make it happen, check it out. Don't be shy. I spent thousands on coaches. I just spent 10K in May in a coach because I walk the talk. Coaches changed my life. Yes, sometimes you maybe get a coach that is not that great. Happens. That's life, right? But you cannot be afraid of making decisions and spending money and just be stuck and paralyzed. I was there for a while because I bought 2 programs for, I think, 8,000 together, and they didn't help me. I actually started making less money with my art after I signed up to them because I got distracted with new knowledge that I didn't need because what I did worked so much better. So I stopped doing what worked and I started doing what they told me in this program. And so I was discouraged for a long, long time and I didn't want to invest in anything. But yeah, then I realized it's life. Yeah, sometimes you make good decisions, right? The first coach that I had a lucky hit. Even though he wasn't an artist, he helped me sell so much art. If you don't want to invest in yourself, no problem. I will upload gold nuggets here. I literally try to give you everything that I know in the time I have, right? The videos, I don't want to make an hour-long video. Sometimes we actually do. Me and Maria Brophy, we make live calls. Check also out her YouTube channel, Maria Brophy. I put it in the description too. We make live calls sometimes on YouTube where you can learn even more. But obviously, I cannot put all the years of experience that I have into a 20-minute video. Right? So I'm truly here to give you as much value as possible. So if you don't want to invest, no problem. Stay with me in these videos and learn everything you can for free till you sell your first painting or sell more art, whatever it is that you want. Because if you actually follow these videos, you're going to sell an artwork promised. You, of course, need to also put on your thinking cap. I cannot hold your hand in these videos. I'm just giving you lots of information. Then you put on your thinking cap and you actually implement these things. But you can do it. I digress for a second, but I think that was really helpful or needed for a lot of artists here. Let me know if this is the case. And let's go back to the strategy. Let's say if you say, Oliver, that makes sense. I want to sell originals too. I can see how this makes me the most money, the fastest, and gets me the fastest to my path of quitting my job and making a living as an artist. Then let's talk about this, how I actually did it. First, yeah, you need to decide, you need to sell your art for a few thousands, right? So you need to run the numbers. I was focusing on big artworks. I didn't believe I can sell a small painting for 5,000, but when I looked at my bigger pieces, I'm like, I can actually believe that because that's a big piece of art and it's beautiful and there is my story, my why and everything in there. And the right people will for sure want to buy that, right? So I could believe that. And that's how I started. And actually the first person I said, the new price. So I went from 1,000 to 4,000 actually. Not 5,000, 4,000, yeah. He bought 2 paintings. He bought the first one in 1 month, and then 1 or 2 months later, he bought the second one. That made me 8,000 instead of 2,000 because before I charged around 1,000 for that kind of artwork, right? So you need to decide what prices do you want to charge and run the numbers. How much do you actually need to sell in order to get to your goal? And of course, your goal is going to be really important. How much do you even need to make a living from your art? If the number is 5,000, how do you get to 5,000? Let's say you sell 2 paintings for 2,500. You are already at 5,000 and all you need is 2 people. 2 people. I mean, for me, that sounds extremely doable, right? If you really want this, you will do whatever it takes. And 2 people is not that much. If you don't really want to do this, everything is going to be too much. You're not going to do what it takes. And I can tell you, it does take from you being proactive, going out there and talking to people. You need to build relationships. You need to go out and network. Or if you don't want to do it outside, like I didn't want, I wanted to do it online. I wanted to be at home and have my, do my morning routine and get a coffee and then chat with people on social media. That's kind of what I wanted to do. Then just follow my footsteps, which is, first of all, Facebook works better. Instagram long term, I think, has a bigger potential because you can have 1 million followers, even more, right? I mean, it's not so easy to get 1 million followers, but the potential is there. But on Facebook, I use my personal Facebook, right? Not a fan page or anything like this, because I'm not sure if this is working. I mean, I don't think it works anymore. So I needed to go in Facebook groups where my ideal buyer is hanging out. And how did I figure this out? I focus on my why. Why do I paint? What's my purpose as an artist? That's what I focus on. When I figured it out, I could focus on who resonates with my purpose as an artist instead of who wants to buy my art. Who loves abstract? Because that's not going to work. Promised, I tried it. If you think like this, you think like everyone else, like every single artist thinks like that. They don't think outside of the box, and you're not going to make it. You're not going to find good groups. But if you can think about your why, your purpose as an artist, and you really go deep, and then you define your ideal customer based on your purpose as an artist, then you will find the right places to go, right? You will find the right Facebook groups. Once you have the right Facebook groups, you want to make a post. You want to post your art. I recommend just one picture. I also did multiple pictures, both worked, but you want to spark the conversation through making a post. You make a post, you tell your purpose in a short way, not too much because these are new people, but you make a post sharing your why, your story, your purpose, okay? And then you will get comments if you're in a good group. And again, this is work. This is not just like a magic button and then, you find one group and then you will have 1 million comments. No, this takes work. You will need to find good groups. And in the beginning, you might find a lot of bad groups. But I'm a big believer of taking massive action. If you already take action, take massive action, right? And once you do that, you start learning, you start finding the good groups, and you start realizing what are the bad groups, where you don't get many comments, which are spammy, and so on and so forth. So you don't post anything in there anymore, and you post more in the good groups, right? And then you see patterns, and then you can find easier, more good groups. These are the things that I'm helping artists with in the community, like in my mastermind. Right? Because in the beginning can be a bit hard to find the right groups because you don't know what you should be looking for. But some things that I can already tell you is like if the group is spammy, if there are lots of quotes, if it doesn't feel like a community, right? If it just feels like maybe the admin is posting stuff all the time or the same people are posting quotes, that doesn't feel like a community. So you want to go in groups where you actually see questions and you see real engagement and people actually sharing things from their life, like a community feeling. That's what you want to look for, right? And if the group is super small, you won't see that, right? If it's just 5,000, 10,000 people, probably not enough to be a good community or big community because, if you post there and you just get 10 likes, it's probably not worth posting more in there, right? You want to find the sweet spot where you have maybe 50,000 members in the group or 100,000 or even 30,000, 20,000 could also work, right? But you want to find good groups, post in there. And once you find good groups, you will get comments and likes, especially if these people are based on your purpose. But then they will resonate with your art and your story. That's the whole trick, right? And the story and the purpose needs to be, of course, relevant. But you don't find the groups based on your art. You find the groups based on your purpose as an artist. So that's what you really need to pay attention to. Once you get comments, you comment back, you send friends requests, you send them initial message, which is like, hey, Naeem, thanks so much for commenting on my art in the XYZ group. I really appreciate it. I'm curious, what do you like about it? Or what resonated with you? Or what do you like the most about this piece? Something like this, okay? You send a message to every single person, and then you will have probably lots of conversations. And you should have lots of conversations. If you don't have lots of conversations, you're not doing enough. Then you need to post more, find better groups, do whatever you can to have enough conversations, which is maybe 10 is a bit low. So let's say 20, 30, 40 conversations all at once. And that takes a little bit of time. That takes work, but that's how you sell art. You build relationships, and the more you do, the more you get. You get what you put in. So if you chat with a lot of people and you jump with these people on a call, which is the next step, you jump with them on a call. Once you talk with them, you get to know them. You listen 80% of the time and you talk only 20% of the time. But have your art in the background so they can ask questions and they can see your art. And the 20% you talk, you want to share your story as an artist, right? and share vulnerable things because that makes them open up too. But it's not about selling directly. Believe me, it's about planting seeds and getting to know people, connecting with them, and then suddenly they will be buying your art. Some people ask you, hey, I love your artwork, is it for sale? But I also needed to ask a lot. And in the end of the day, I just asked them if they would be interested in one of my artworks or if they could see one of my artworks in their home. I made it the rule for me to ask that every single time, and you will be surprised. I sold tons of artworks just like that. And of course, you get more no's than yeses, but that's part of the game. And when you sell something for 3, 4, 5, 6,000, it's going to be pretty exciting. That's basically how I do it. That's a whole strategy. That's my strategy. Again, if you want to sell prints, if you want to make a website, these are, in my opinion, slower paths, except you have an audience. Or you do ads, because the most important thing is like you need to first meet people. You need to have eyeballs. And where do you get these eyeballs from? And if you want to sell prints or licensing, then yeah, you can make it happen for sure. 100%, because I know other artists are doing it. Maria Brophy is doing it. But then you need to learn exactly how that path works. Right? So if you're really interested, if you say like, I don't want to sell originals at all, you can watch some of the videos from Maria Brophy, from my business partner, or join our community, because she's talking about that too. Because she made a video, the last video she made is like how she made 30K from prints this month or last month, which is amazing. But she's spending ads, and that's another skill you have to learn. So whatever path you choose, you need to learn things. You need to learn skills. You need to get better at these things. As I said, like if you choose my strategy, sounds maybe easy as I'm explaining it, but you still have to go through the process and you have to get better at each step, right? So anyway, so I hope that makes sense. This is how you can make a living as an artist. As I said, I believe that it's the easiest, fastest way to get started. If you want to take a little bit more time and you say like, I want to learn social media, I want to learn Instagram, I want to know how to go viral, then do that. Learn everything you can and become really, really good at Instagram. Become really good at creating content and knowing exactly how the platform works so that you can go viral again and again and again and build a following, build an audience that actually loves your art. And then you have a link in the bio for your Shopify store or however you want to do it. But that's how Maria does it. She has a Shopify store where she sells mostly prints. But again, she gets people from ads, and she already has a big email list that she also built over the years, right? So there are ways. I just said what I think is the fastest way. So you choose in the end of the day, but again, you have to choose. Pick something. Don't overthink. If you haven't started at all because you're in the overthinking stage, you just need to pick one thing and just get started. Because every single time you're going to learn something. And if you're one of the artists that's overthinking pricing, that's just sabotage, self-sabotage. It's not going to lead you anywhere, right? You don't need to think about your pricing for months and months and think that when you pick the right pricing, people are just going to buy automatically. That's just not how it works. Pick something, talk to people, and test it out. That's how it works. That's how real business works. Every single business owner is doing it like this. They decide, and then they take action. They talk to their ideal customers, pitch the price, and see what they say. If you talk to 20 people and all of them say no, and all of them give you the feedback that it's too expensive for them, A, maybe you have the wrong clients. Maybe these are the wrong people you're talking to. Or B, your pricing might be too high. But there's nobody stopping you to lower them after that, after you got this feedback, right? But I want to encourage you to take action. Whatever path you choose, just take action and don't sabotage yourself. If you really, really want it, you can make it happen. It is possible. I did it, Maria did it, and lots of other artists are making a living from their art too. And it's not all about talent. It's not all about like your art skills. I mean, I'm not the most skilled artist on the planet. I mean, lots of people still laugh about my art, but I still made a living. I sold over 200,000 worth of my art. Yeah. Because people don't buy your skills or the color palette or the medium, the technique. They buy your why. They buy your purpose. That's what they really connect to. So if you want to learn more, check out my other videos, and I hope to see you in another video. Like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if that was helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions that I can answer, and I'll see you soon. Peace.